Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the October 20th Blue Earth County Board of Commissioners meeting, and we will start out with our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll go to our agenda review. Bob?
Mr. Chair, there are no changes to the agenda today.
Purvis moves the agenda.
People seconds.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Jesse, could you call a roll, please?
Commissioner Purvis?
Aye.
Commissioner People?
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer?
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder?
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg?
Aye. All right, now we go right into planning and zoning, and I believe we got George Leary coming in.
Morning, George.
Yeah,
Good morning, George.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Go right ahead.
PC 21-20 is a request from Lindsay Quast for review and approval of an interim use permit to operate a reception banquet meeting facility. The property is zoned agricultural and is located in the southeast quarter of the southwest quarter of Decoria Township, Section 29. Staff presented the report. The applicant was linked into the virtual meeting and had no additional comment. There was no other public comment and little discussion by the Planning Commission. Following the discussion and a roll call vote, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of the request to the County Board with the conditions presented and to adopt the findings prepared by staff, and the Board action is the resolution.
All right. Well, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone that wishes to speak on PC 2120? Anyone on the phone or on Zoom that wishes to speak to PC 2120? One more time, is there anyone that wishes to speak on PC 2120? Hearing no one, I bring it back to the board.
Purvis moves approval.
Brunder will second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to add to the discussion we had was all positive. It sounds like there'd be a nice need for this and it'd be a good program to have out in the rural area. Very
Yeah.
well received.
It sounds
Looks like a nice
Yeah.
spot, yeah.
I just had one question. How many people do they figure they can hold in the, have in the banquet hall or the banquet building? 99. 99? That had to be by a licensed architectural engineer. Okay. So,
Thank you.
yeah, because at 100, there's another threshold.
okay.
And the seating arrangement looked to be adequate for
Right.
that. Yes.
Okay. Real good. Any other discussion? Jesse, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Purvis?
Aye.
Commissioner People?
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer?
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder?
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg?
Aye. All right. Go ahead, George.
PC 23-20 is a request from Dale Kessler and Dan Schoenig, is to amend the official zoning map of Blue Earth County by rezoning Lot 1, Block 1 of the Kessler subdivision located in Section 4, Beaufort Township, from highway business to rural town site. Staff presented the report. The applicants were unavailable and there was no public comment. The Planning Commission members acknowledged that the site has been inactive for a number of years and it will be a good use of the property. They agreed that the requirements from MnDOT for the removal of the second driveway and the sign from the right-of-way are reasonable. Following the discussion and a roll call vote, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of the request to the County Board with the conditions presented, including the added condition for the removal of the sign, and to adopt the findings prepared by staff. And the board action is the ordinance.
All right. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone that wishes to speak on PC 2320? If you do, please state your name and address. Anyone on the phone or on Zoom that wishes to speak to PC 2320? One more time, is there anyone that wishes to speak to PC 2320? Without that, with no discussion, I will bring it back to the board.
Brunder will move approval.
Pipo, second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion from the board?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I think this is just gonna be a good use of this property. It's been sitting there vacant. It was the little store at one point, and now will be able to be rented out, lived in, whatever, so good use of the property, and
Okay. Any other discussion? Jesse, can you call a roll, please?
Commissioner Purvis.
Aye.
Commissioner Peepo.
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer.
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder.
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg.
Aye. Go ahead, George.
PC 24-20 is a request from Lee and Christine Bohr. Is a request for review and approval of an interim use permit to temporarily store up to 700 cubic yards of fill. The proposed fill will ultimately be used for backfilling around future structures and septic drain field systems. The property is zoned rural town site and is within the urban fringe overlay district of the city of Mankato. The location includes lots 15 and 16 of the Terrace View subdivision in the southwest quarter of the northwest quarter of Section 4 Decoria Township. Staff presented the report. The applicant was linked into the meeting. He asked the commission to extend the permit into the 2022 construction season due to the uncertainty with COVID and the impact on construction. There was no other public comment. The Planning Commission expressed no concerns with the request and found it reasonable to extend the project into the 2022 construction season. Following the discussion and a roll call vote, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of the request to the County Board with the conditions presented and to adopt the findings prepared by staff. And the board action is a resolution.
This will be a public hearing. Is there anyone on the phone or on Zoom that wishes to speak to PC 2420? Anyone online that wishes to speak to PC 2420? One more time, is there anyone that wishes to speak on PC 2420? You got somebody?
Chair, we may have to pause for a moment. I think that there is somebody trying to speak and we're not able to hear them.
Okay, see what you can
If we
find.
could just take a brief moment to try to troubleshoot. I think our IT staff is on our way back.
We are on pause. We have a little IT problem this morning with some of our stuff, so we apologize for that.
Mr. Chairman, if they're unable to make contact, I did talk with the applicant this morning, and he was going to try to call into the meeting, so it's likely him.
Okay.
There was no opposition to the request at the Planning Commission meeting, and our office received no calls in opposition to the request either. So it's
Okay.
likely the applicant trying to make contact.
We'll hold on just a second and give him a chance if we are trying to get something in. Like I said, we're having some technical difficulties this morning, so.
It's great when it works.
Do you have the cell number, George, by chance?
Isn't that the truth?
At the office.
At the office.
It appears as though they're unmuted, so we'll wait. So, oh, they hung up.
They hang up?
Mm-hmm. So there was somebody, it looks like there's, a J Angles on, and if you could try to speak, maybe we can test our sound that way. See, he's speaking, but we can't hear him.
He's a contractor for.
Okay.
Sure.
say he was gonna call in, or he didn't say?
Just Jay.
It's unrelated to this, any of the items we have.
Oh, yes. Mute all the current and participants. No. So Chris Adams, he's trying to talk and it's not working, but he's on mute.
That's just stuff.
So they're on the phone and
If there's callers on the line and you're on your computer, feel free to type a chat, and then I would read that for the record. Could maybe be an alternate way to voice your opinion. That's what Laura's saying. So. The bottom of your screen, there's some different tools that shows the participants in the chat. We apologize. We tested this before the meeting and everything was working.
Things happen.
I do see that some chats are showing up, but it's them saying that they can hear each other speaking, but they can't. We can't hear them, and so
the chat function works, though.
the chat function is working.
Yeah.
Mhm. Oh, I can go downstairs and get it.
They must be able to hear us, though, right?
I think that she's saying
Yeah.
I can't.
I know you're texting with somebody,
And
yeah.
they can hear each other too, so it's something on our end.
Our end,
Sounds
yeah.
like,
And they can hear each other,
Yeah,
we can't hear them.
yeah.
Sometimes they wouldn't be missing much. God love technology. They can't hear us. I didn't say that.
Chuck?
Oh, you can hear.
We believe we had a power outage overnight that maybe took our systems down and didn't fully reboot them, so they're in the process of doing that now to see if that fixes the problem. So apologize for the delay
that just for here there was a power outage, or? I never.
Okay.
And some of this equipment is so sensitive, it doesn't take much of a power
Mm.
outage.
I know that happened before.
Yeah, he was on.
My computer in the office wouldn't work, and neither would the printer.
Okay.
But because there was a power outage. But we didn't know why at first.
It blinked like that.
We ain't
Oh,
moving it at this
see.
point. No. It barely started.
There's some gremlins in here somewhere.
Yeah,
We're
something's
not
going on.
moving nothing. Chuck had problems getting his going this morning too.
Here, your default
like 2
speaker
minutes
has
left.
changed to Video Matrix.
Now we're dark.
And now
Yeah.
will be used.
Now we're blacked out.
Okay.
I think we're trying to.
Laura,
reboot.
could you please unmute yourself and test the speakers? We still can't hear you.
So the person that's trying to talk, are they able to do the chat?
The person that was trying to talk hung up. And so I believe that we still have one caller on that is probably interested in a planning and zoning item, but it's not this item. It's the last item on the agenda for planning and zoning.
All
So
right.
maybe they can. Now it changed to this.
Pat, by legal standings, we have to have a public hearing. Do we need to continue on this?
Okay.
I think they're always just on.
No, it's red.
Oh, okay.
I think you have to hold the button.
Well, in any event, Mr. Chair, yes, you would need to, and I suppose as an alternate, if there's a cell phone number that can be, somebody can call in on, and it can be broadcast from one of the microphones, or recorded from one of the microphones.
All right.
I've got my phone here.
So you're certainly welcome. Anybody on the Zoom call is welcome to stay on and listen and use the chat function if you do have comments. I could read those comments for the record. Or else, we have an alternate cell phone number you could dial into, which is 507 995 1278. So we can try to take comments that way as well. Otherwise, if you're here to listen, feel free to stay on the Zoom call, or we are live on YouTube as well. Thank you for being patient with us. We have a couple of internal staff on. It looks like we have a few contractors with the ditch hearings, and then maybe one party interested in planning and zoning. So that's who's on the call.
All right. And they can hear us?
They can hear us fine.
All right.
We're getting reports that they can hear us fine, and they can actually hear each other.
Hear each other.
So
We just can't hear them.
we have some technical difficulties hearing you, but if somebody wishes to comment on PC 2420, they can either call in with the number that Jesse Anderson gave you, or you can use the chat box feature on Zoom and place that in. I will give one more option to do that. Without hearing any, I will take this back to the board.
Mr. Chairman, if I could add one more thing.
Go ahead.
If it was Mr. Boer that was on the phone trying to call in, my guess is that he would have reiterated his request to extend that out into the 2022 construction season.
I kind of figured that.
Okay.
So he would be pro what we're looking at.
Correct.
Okay. Does anyone wish to make a motion?
You think we're all right, Pat?
I'll move it. Brunder?
People seconds.
With a motion and a second, any discussion? Except for technical difficulties?
Yeah, and this is the day that we knew was gonna come, and luckily, they're all non-controversial items on our agenda. We didn't have anybody that was already said today that came and testified, so we should be fine.
Well, that's the only reason I'm feeling pretty confident of this, is that I'm not hearing that anybody was against these measures
No.
at your planning and zoning meeting, and the person that was probably going to talk was going to talk to the positive on this. So.
Yeah, the extension was the big thing. You just thought with COVID, not being able to get materials next year and be able to build, why come back for another permit?
and
So we
I
were all
think-
supportive of
I
that.
think we all understand that issue. Jesse, could you call a roll, please?
Commissioner Purvis.
Aye.
Commissioner People.
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer.
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder.
All right,
Chair Stuenberg.
Aye. We will go to PC 2520.
PC 25-20 is a request from Mitch Abbas. It is a request for review and approval of the final plat of Mitch Abbas subdivision number 3. The proposal is a replat of a portion of the Mitch Abbas subdivision number 2 and will consist of one lot and one outlot. The property is zoned agricultural and is located in the east half of the southeast quarter of Section 17, Cambria Township. Staff presented the report. The applicants were linked into the meeting. They had no further comment, and there was no public comment. The Planning Commission expressed no issues with the request. Following the discussion, in a roll call vote, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of the request to the County Board with the conditions presented and to adopt the findings prepared by staff. And the board action is a resolution. I did talk with applicants this morning, and I'm quite certain that they were trying to call in
Okay.
to this meeting.
So they might be on the line right now. All right. This is a public hearing. We are having technical difficulties. So, Jesse, I'm going to have you give your phone number or the phone number one more time. And so if somebody wants to call in to the phone number that Ms. Anderson is going to give you, or you can use the chat function on the Zoom and type in what you wish to say, I would certainly appreciate that.
Sure. The phone number is 507-995-1278.
Mr. Chair, our technical folks are putting that number up on the screen as well. so-
That's awesome. All right. So if anyone wishes to speak or chat on PC 2520, could you either call that phone number or use the chat function on the Zoom and type in what you want to tell us about this PC 2520.
Hello, this is Jesse.
Carolyn Abbott.
Hi,
And
Carol.
We are fine with whatever is going on. Everything is fine.
Okay, thank you so much for calling in. We apologize for our technical issues here.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak on PC 2520? If you do, please call the phone number listed or type into the chat function of Zoom. We do apologize for our technical issues that we cannot hear what's coming over Zoom. And one more time, on PC 2520, if you wish to call in to the phone number listed or type into the chat on Zoom, please feel free to call in to see what the issues are. With this, I'll bring it back to the board.
Purvis moves approval. People seconds.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion from the board?
Mr. Chair, again, this had no comment, and this is also our second plat that we've seen this. We've seen this a month or so ago with the preliminary, so I'm pretty confident we should be fine with this.
Okay. With that, Jesse, could you call a roll, please?
Commissioner Purvis?
Aye.
Commissioner People?
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer?
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder?
Aye?
Chair Stuenberg?
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, George.
Thank you
Thank you.
very much,
Thanks,
George.
George.
I apologize for the issues.
No problem.
Okay. Well, we'll go from one to another here. And we're going to call to order the virtual meeting of, let's see, our hearing today is for the acceptance of the contracted work completed by RAW Construction of Faribault, Minnesota for the improvement of JD 34. And we will now have the drainage staff go over the judicial documents.
Okay, the hearing notices were mailed to landowners on October 6th, 2020. Hearing notice was also published on the Blue Earth County website on October 6th, 2020. The purpose of this hearing is for the board to determine that the contractor has completed the improvement project in accordance with the contract. So
All right,
that's it for jurisdictional documents.
thank you. And we'll now hear from the engineer, Chuck.
All right, good morning.
Morning.
Chuck Brandel with ISG. Got a short presentation on the project. So the improvement to JD 34, it's just under 1,000 acre watershed. The improvement, if you guys can see my screen. There we go. So
right.
the watershed is shown, the watershed boundary is shown in red. The improvement area is shown in green. The reason for this improvement is there was failing tile in the system. There were also 2 solar farms that went in, and some of the tile needed to be rerouted around those solar farms. The improvement consisted of replacing a 24-inch tile with a 36-inch tile at the outlet. Because this area drained into Eagle Lake, which there has been flooding issues downstream, a 2-acre pond was put in at the outlet of the system to help reduce and manage peak flows from the improvement. Here's just a kind of a zoomed in diagram of the pond that was put in. So Raw Construction was the contractor. The original contract was $860,714.98. There was a deduct of just over $4,000 because the contractor did not come back to do some work, and we hired a few other contractors to do some work to get farmers into the field. The total final amount was $917,908.05. The reason that is higher than the contract is we found over 100 additional 4- and 6-inch tiles that we had to connect in, which we didn't have tile maps for. So that's the reason for the overrun. At this point, the contractors owed $49,288.61. We are recommending payment of that. If you accept the project today, all of the existing tiles shown in purple on this map will be abandoned, and the new tiles will become the new JD 34 system.
Okay.
So the existing tiles will become private tiles. Here's a couple pictures of construction, just showing the trench, some connections, some private connections. We did televise the entire system. There were some issues that were found that did delay this acceptance. We had the contractor go back out and fix multiple areas. There were a couple areas that had a low spot in them, some areas that had some cracked pipe, and some poor connections. So those were all repaired, and the system is working per the specifications. So we're recommending approval and a payment of $49,288.61 to RAW. We did calculate damages. Those have been submitted to the Drainage Authority. We have damages in a few areas for multiple years because the contractor had to come back and do some repairs through the fields. So those were all documented and are part of the report. So we are recommending payment of damages to the landowner for construction. So we're recommending approval and payment to the contractor and acceptance of the improvement.
Okay.
I do have more details if there are detailed questions. So.
All right. Well, we'll now open this hearing for public comment. How we doing, Jesse? The hearing is being recorded, so please state your name and address, and as a courtesy to others wishing to comment, please limit your comments to 3 to 5 minutes per person. Can we hear yet, Jesse, or I saw you brought some speakers in?
Mr. Chair, I don't believe that we're getting sound to come through. Again, we have our chat function if there are questions there. I do believe that we have a couple individuals on the call still from the planning and zoning hearing. We have some contractors on these drainage projects and then a couple of staff. I don't believe that I'm not certain that we have landowners.
Is your phone number still up?
I can repeat my phone number again. It is 507-995-1278 if somebody would like to call in. Or type a chat into the computer.
If you'd wish to comment on JD 34, please use the chat function on your Zoom or call in to the phone number, which we can then hear you.
Chair Stuenberg, just another comment is we do have a staff on, and because they can hear each other talking, she's reporting that there isn't anybody wishing to comment. There's nobody trying to comment at this time.
All right. I will give you 2 more times. Anybody wishes to comment on JD 34, please feel free to use the chat function or call in the phone number. And one more time, if anyone wishes to comment on JD 34, please use the chat function on your Zoom or use the phone number that was given. And we have no one, Jesse?
I do not see any comments. Thank you.
And our other staff can't hear anybody either?
Nope, she's reporting that nobody's trying to speak.
Okay. With that, I'll bring it back to the board.
Brenda will move approval for the final payment and the acceptance of the system.
Purvis seconds.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion from the board?
Mr. Chair, I just got one question for Chuck. Did anybody reach out to you in advance with any concerns on this? And if they did?
There was a message yesterday about an area that was still wet. We did confirm that their area was connected in.
Okay.
There is also a 3-year warranty after the acceptance of this. So if there is something that does pop up, we do have a 3-year warranty on all the tile. So this isn't the end, but the contractor has satisfied all of their contractual obligations.
Thank you, Chuck. I don't have any other questions, Mr. Chair.
All right. Is it pretty normal to have some issues, after it's done with, you go through with your camera? Is that pretty normal that we do have issues sometimes?
Yes, it's very normal. That's why we, a while back, instituted that all projects will be cameraed. It's very easy for a very good contractor to, maybe a rock falls in the trench and they compact over the top of it and it messes something up. The plastic pipe, the HDPE pipe, needs everything around it to be compacted very well. That's why we televise it at the end, make sure that once it's in and stable, it's not going to go anywhere.
Okay, good enough.
There's 20,000 feet of tile in the system, so there's a chance that something doesn't
Absolutely.
go right.
I mean, it's just that I saw that and I was going, okay, I didn't know.
It's normal to find a handful of things.
And that's why I asked you. Thank
Yep.
you.
how wonderful that you can televise it. You know, you used to have to dig it up.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And we, the contractor did do their own televising on this system, but we have bought a camera since then, and now we're doing our own televising, just to make things more expedient, that we could follow along and get everything corrected while they're there.
That works good for me.
Yep.
I'd love to see that happen sometime. I'll have to come out in the field with you and see how you do that. That would be very interesting for me to see that.
Quick plug, we are doing a tour of this system and JD9 on Thursday. I believe staff might be attending that, a field tour, so Thursday afternoon.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Chuck.
All right, any other discussion? Jesse, could you call a roll, please?
Commissioner Purvis.
Aye.
Commissioner Pepo.
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer.
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder.
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg.
Aye. All right. Then we're gonna go on to JD9. Let's see here. Our hearing today is for the acceptance of the contracted work completed by Ground Works Backhoe Services LLC from Janesville and Gustafson Drainage LLC from Lake Crystal, Minnesota, for the improvement of JD9. And we will now have the drainage staff go over the jurisdictional documents. Craig?
The hearing notices were mailed to landowners on October 6th, 2020. The hearing notice was published in the Blue Earth County website on October 6th, 2020. And again, the purpose of this hearing is for the board to determine that the contractors, in this case contractors, have completed the improvement project in accordance with their contract. Thank you.
All right. And now we'll hear from the engineer, Mr. Brandel.
All right, good morning again. For JD9, the improvement actually had two petitions. There was a JD9 South and a JD9 North. The project was also bid that way. We did run all of the hearings together to save time, and thus this hearing is together also. So the projects were bid at the same time, constructed relatively at the same time. So the South project, the total watershed acres is about 2,100 acres. The South is basically everything south of County Road 17 except for a small area. The North is everything north of County Road 17. So for the South project, the project included cleaning the open ditch, maintaining a two-stage ditch at the outlet, and then improving all of the tiles that are connected onto branch 1 and branch 3. Groundworks was the contractor. The original contract was $586,895.40. Did have a few change orders. We only used about 29,000 of those change orders. And then we overestimated the amount of tile that we would connect in this system. Thus, we are approximately $20,000 under the contract amount. The final owed to Groundworks is $30,548.08. We will be abandoning all of the tile that are associated with branch 1 and branch 3 for the South project. That includes many laterals. Construction went very well. No major issues during construction. Here's just a few pictures. This is a boring under County Road 17. Here's the final pay request. We have received all the documents from the contractor, including their IC-134s. We have calculated damages. We did color code them by branch and lateral to make it easy so which areas associated with the damage for each branch, and then tabulated those. So the landowners get paid a damage for crossing their fields. That's what those damages are for. So we've calculated those, submitted those to the Drainage Authority, and we recommend approval of the JD9 South project. I'll just jump right to the JD9 North. A little bit larger project. This did include 1.2 acre pond, and then there's 2 wetlands on the north part of the system that were incorporated into the public drainage system. They both were functioning somewhat as a wetland prior to the project, but we officially made them part of the system, purchased easements, and put in control structures. The tiles in this area were almost coming out of the ground, broken, not functioning. So now we're maintaining the existing area of the wetland, but providing an outlet so that the fields around it don't continually flood. That was part of the improvement. The entire project actually has 120 acre feet of storage that's incorporated into the improvement project. The JD9 North project dumps into the open ditch through a small pond. Generally consists of a 42-inch tile and then smaller tiles all the way down to an 8-inch once you get to the northern part of the project. Here's a picture of the pond and the design of the pond. We are going to tour this on Thursday with a small group. Here's a picture of one of the wetlands. There was a landowner that did call in and thought the wetlands did get larger. This is pre-construction, after a rain event. This is kind of in the middle of construction. And here's a picture last week. And it doesn't appear that the wetland boundary has gotten any larger, which is what the goal of the project was, just to maintain the wetland boundary, but to reduce the flooding around it. So we did look into that. Love the drone technology, because go out and take a picture and take a look at it.
It's very, very nice.
So Gustafson Drainage was the contractor. Original contract was $881,993.24. We did have a few change orders. Final payment is under the original contract. Again, we estimated some of the tiles a little higher than we thought. Final amount owed is $59,495.53. So we recommend payment for that. Again, all of the tiles along the alignment would be abandoned, and the new system would become the public system. Public system shown in green. It's hard to maybe see on the screen, but the abandoned tiles are shown in purple. Just a few pictures. The pond outlet, construction of the pond, a connection to the old main, and then our final signed pay request.
All right.
And then we've included damages. The green on the damage areas are permanent damages, similar to an open ditch or a buffer for storage. So we recommend approval and acceptance of JD9 North and South.
Okay. Well, we'll now open this hearing for a public comment. This hearing is being recorded, so please state your name and address. As is a courtesy to others wishing to comment, please limit your comments to 3 to 5 minutes per person. How are we doing with our technology, Jesse?
Mr. Chair, I think we're still in our same position here.
All right. So what I'm going to ask the folks to do is if they wish to comment, type it into the chat function on Zoom, or Jesse can give you a phone number again, and if you wish to call in on the phone number, that would be acceptable also.
Yes, and the phone number is on the screen both on Zoom and YouTube, Mr. Chair. The number is 507-995-1278.
If I may, I did get an email comment that I could address.
Please.
I believe Mr. Reed has a farm site on the east side of the open ditch. He asked about intakes. We did not do any work in that area, and thus it wasn't part of this project. I believe he has private intakes there. So I just wanted to address that. That was an email comment that we got yesterday, and we did reply to it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. So if anybody wishes to comment on JD9, could you please type into the chat function on either Zoom and, or you can call in the phone number that's listed on YouTube or Zoom. And one more time, if you wish to comment on JD9, you can either type in your comments on the chat function for Zoom, or you can call in the phone number that's listed for both Zoom and JD or YouTube. And it appears we haven't gotten anybody.
Correct, Mr. Chair.
All right, so I'll bring this back to the board.
Brunder will move approval of the final payment and acceptance of the ditch.
Langhammer seconds.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion from the board?
Mr. Chair, this ditch is right in my backyard over by Eagle Lake. I've been in contact with several landowners throughout the ditch project, and I have not had any calls or concerns on this final payment or final hearing at this point.
Okay. Any other discussion? Jesse, could you call a roll, please?
Commissioner Purvis.
Aye.
Commissioner Peepo.
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer.
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder.
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg.
Aye. All right. Now we will go to the bid award for JD 17.
We received bids for JD 17. This is an improvement project over by Garden City. Chuck Brandel is the one who made the recommendations, is making the recommendations, so if you have any questions, I'll let him answer them.
Put it all on you, didn't he?
Yep. So we did receive multiple bids for JD 17. The engineer's estimate at the final engineer's report was $723,910. The apparent low bid was Molnau Trucking with a bid of $647,411.27. Second place bid was Groundworks Backhoe Service with a bid of $713,609.43. We do have some bidding requirements. The past years, we've had a few projects where contractors that do not work on drainage have tried to attempt some drainage projects and they've not gone well. So part of our bidding requirements are that you have a reference list of similar work within the past 5 years. The low bidder does not have an acceptable reference for within the past 5 years on this type of work. Thus, we feel that they don't meet our bidding requirements, and we would recommend moving forward with Groundworks Backhoe Service for this project.
And your references are your requirements were fully posted when you put this out. So they knew they needed to complete that. Is that correct?
That is correct. And they did fill out a reference list, but it does not have, I do have it on the screen. Well, either way, it does not have, it has one county drainage authority reference. I did talk with Sibley County, and I was involved with a project, a similar size tile project where they did not award to this contractor based on experience. So I've not worked with them. We do have a contract open with them in another county right now for some grading work, but none of the work has started, so I have no experience with them. So JD 17 is a complicated project. There's a lot of tile that need to be connected. And just based on our bidding requirements, we feel they don't meet those requirements for this project. And thus, we're recommending Groundworks be awarded the project.
All right. Bring it to the board.
Purvis moves approval.
Is that approval for Groundworks?
Yes.
Okay.
Brunder would second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
This is very difficult when someone has a good bid and you have to go with the second bid, but we do know Groundworks will do a really good job. They are from this area, and it's unfortunate we can't help do it in this way, but we have to look out for the interest of the ditch. Ditch projects get very complicated. We've already had a couple in the short past that we ran into problems with other contractors, so, and we all are very confident with groundwork, so this should work out very well.
I just have one question for Chuck. Any hopes for the pond yet?
I would like to see the pond constructed. We're very close to the estimate. With either bid, the pond would have been over our benefits. But we will continue to talk with the SWCD and Gaberba to see if there's funds. Potentially, maybe when One Watershed, One Plan funds become available, this would be a project that could be done very quickly because it's all ready to go. So
That was my thought, because that's on the Watonwan River, isn't it?
correct.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Good.
we
Thank
have
you.
talked with Gaberba about storage, and they are, if they've got any say with the One Watershed, One Plan, I think we have a shot at it.
That's
So,
great, thank you.
Okay, my concern is the low bid. And my concern is not that we're wrong in what we're doing, but that we're doing it legally. So, you know, Mr. McDermott, that's more my concern than anything.
Yeah.
That we
Yeah, and if I could
make
just-
sure we follow state law and have all those ducks in a row before the board comes out and finalizes this.
If just before you go, we have done this before where a contractor hasn't met the references for a drainage authority, not Blue Earth County, but another drainage authority. We did put some of these guidelines in based on a similar project that you guys had in the past. So that's why some of these are in. So.
I had the same concerns as you. So what we did is we forwarded the bid recommendation to Kurt Dieter, who reviewed it, and he sent us back an email saying, yes, this looks good. Looks like the decision process and the reasoning for going for the second bidder is valid. So we've already sent it to our attorney,
Okay.
Kurt Dieter, on this, so.
That was my only concern. Any other discussion? Jesse, could you call a roll, please?
Commissioner Purvis?
Aye.
Commissioner People?
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer?
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder?
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg?
Aye. All right, and then we have our drainage inspector report.
Thank you, Chuck.
Yep, thank you. I'm just gonna plug and get out of your way.
Thank you very much, Chuck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck.
Had you going there for a while, and then with all our technical difficulties, we even kept you longer.
Greg, are you in a position to speak to this? or-
That would be a Ryan thing. Is he online, or I can try to speak to him, we can bring up the report.
I can, Mr. Chair.
Pretty straightforward.
All right,
This is a drainage inspector's report on JD 48. It is an area that is experiencing major sloughing, and there's additional shaping of the banks that is needed. It is an expensive repair, estimated at $35,000 to $40,000. So it's above our required threshold to bring it here to the board today, and so we're recommending approval.
Purvis moves approval.
Brunder will second.
got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I just want to say it certainly looks like a necessary project from what I see from it.
No other discussion? Jesse, could you call a roll, please?
Commissioner Purvis?
Aye.
Commissioner People?
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer?
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder?
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg?
Aye. All right. Are we done with that?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
I
Wanna
think
take
we
a-
are going to take a 10-minute break.
10 o'clock.
Right, thank you.
Time goes by when you're happy.
Yes,
When
it
you're having
does.
fun.
Yes, it does.
I don't either. Hanging out.
I don't think I even gave you your 10 minutes, did I? But we're going to go on with our Human Services report from Mr. Phil Clausen.
Morning, Phil.
Morning, Phil.
Phil?
Hi, Commissioners, it's good to see you today. Thanks for having us. I do have just a handful of action items that should go pretty quickly, and then we have Public Health here to give us a COVID update, so I hope we can get through all of this in kind of a linear fashion. Mr. Chair and Commissioners, I have the first item for action, which is Children and Family Services Unit and Carlson Counseling and Consulting. This contract provides us parenting assessments. It is an experienced vendor who does the parenting assessments with us associated with our child protection cases. It is a renewal contract, and the rate is the same as it was in the prior 2-year agreement, $1,800 per assessment. And the term January 1st, 21 through December 31st of 22. Next action item, Behavioral Health Unit, Community Support Program. This is our big kind of base grant that we have a 2-year grant cycle on for years 21 and 22. The total grant amount is $660,446, which is a biennial amount, so half of that per year. This is also the same amount as the previous cycle. It does cover our clubhouse costs, our staffing costs for the clubhouse, and then almost all of our staff who do social work also can bill against the community support program as well. So a lot of staff costs that are covered by this grant. And the term January 1st of 21 through December 31st of 22. Under Public Health, I think we have 4 items. And the first of those being SHIP and Statewide Health Improvement Partnership. This is focused on community-driven solutions for active living, healthy eating, and commercial tobacco-free living. The term is a 1-year grant extension. The current grant amount, $208,958, which is the same as the previous term as well. November 1st of 2020 through October 31st of 2021 is the term. And then United Way, this is our partnership agreement for us to be able to administer programs funded through the United Way. Currently we have First Steps, Home Visiting, and Earlier Intervention as our programs that we operate through United Way support. The grant and terms are all included, scope of practice, the communications back and forth, and budget issues, any budget changes. It clarifies the responsibility for both agencies. The funding levels will be announced after the United Way campaign has been completed, and so the term of the partnership agreement, January 1st of 21 through December 31st of 21. And then Child and Teen Checkup, also under Public Health, Department of Human Services, and ourselves, in order to provide outreach services for children birth through age 20 enrolled in medical assistance to ensure they receive appropriate health and medical services. We also are charged with overcoming barriers such as limited English proficiency, transportation, and other possible barriers to people getting the services they need, especially for the younger age population. The 2021 funding is $178,080, which is a slight 1.5 decrease, about $2,700 decrease from the previous grant cycle. And this is based on a formula using the number of MA eligible children in our community times the amount, $2,650 per child. So that's why it will fluctuate on certain years up and down depending on how our population go and really the number of births we have that are MA recipients. The term January 1st of 21 through December 31st of 21. And then my final action item for today is Minnesota Department of Health, Public Health Emergency Preparedness, FEP. Public Health engages in regional model of contract investigation, contract tracing, which we've talked quite a bit about. This is a contract in order for us to do that work and sort out the confirmed cases of COVID-19. We engage in the CICT activities in order to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 infections. We've committed to at least 16 hours of staff time per week to this activity, and there was a breakout just of other community health boards, what they're doing. We all are required for a minimum of 8 hours per week, so we doubled that, and we are in discussions about expanding this possibly based on this contract amount. 25 other community health boards have adopted our same model. 13 are working on their own model, and 19 are asking MDH to do the work. Our contract for this term is $28,860, which is August 22nd, 2020 through December 30th, and we are able to do some retro payments. Kelly did tell me that she expects that we'll be able to use this time period, this short time period, to try to do some testing and seeing what works and seeing what scope we have, and we're already talking with Bob about possibly expanding some of our hours using contracted individuals in the community as well. So that is a bit of a moving one. Those are the action items I have for today.
I'll move the action items. Langhammer?
People seconds.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the action items for human services?
I had a question on the first one on the child. Let me get to it here.
Children and Family
Counseling?
Services?
The parenting assessments, yes?
First one here with the counseling and Carlson. I just kind of wondered what the amount was for the last budget year, I guess, that we ended up getting, or, because it's a renewal contract and it's $1,800 per assessment, so I just trying to figure.
Right.
How many assessments were there actually?
Yeah,
Just
that's a very fair question, and I do not have that in front of me, Commissioner, but I'll definitely ship that your way to say how much did we pay per last year under this contract for $1,800 per assessment. And we did have other vendors that also did this work for us, but I do believe that that amount, of course, would fluctuate some year to year depending on the number of cases. So I can get you an annualized amount. That's a good
Or
question.
how it, yeah, each year to year, how it
Yep.
changes much, whatever.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
On SHIP, and you're here, Kristen, are nonprofits eligible? I know the city of Mankato gets a lot of SHIP money from us. I was just kind of curious.
You can come up if you'd like. We're our experts here. Why would I try? I could guess and get it wrong.
Yes, nonprofits are eligible for SHIP dollars. Any organization that meets the criteria that we're asked to work in, whether it's the setting or the type of behavior we're working on, is eligible. So nonprofits, for-profits, municipalities, as you mentioned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kristen. I just wasn't sure. I recognize the city a lot, but
Right. Yeah, and I do know at the heart of that question is to really say the mission, as stated in those three main categories, is really broad. And if we do know of people, I mean, I'm sure that's to the heart of it, that you know are doing work or related work to this, that we really welcome folks to reach out, especially to Kristen, and to ask those questions to see if they're eligible, because it's really a great opportunity for those smaller agencies that sometimes need a little bit of money. Goes a long way. So.
thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? Jesse, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Purvis?
Aye.
Commissioner People?
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer?
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder?
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg?
Aye.
And Mr. Chair, for my informational and discussion items, just because I know that we have both Jess here and Kristen here from Public Health, I really did want to focus our time in discussion on these things and really invite the board to ask any questions you might have at that kind of ground level. Jess does a lot of our leadership and coordination around emergency preparedness, and Kristen obviously with our SHIP program. So I see them as leaders both in our department and for our county, but in the community as well, and a lot of times the ones that can create those bridges between the gaps that we have. And so I really appreciate their ability to be here today and your ability or your willingness to hear from us regarding public health update and COVID. And I'm going to invite Jess up first, if that's okay, Mr. Chair, and then we'll go to Kristen after that. Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Thank you for having us
Good
here.
morning.
I know Kelly's presented to you on different topics during the pandemic. So I thought today it would be appropriate to talk about COVID testing. Still continues to be a relevant initiative. In this first slide here, this is just some basic information, basically to bring some clarity to the different types of testing that are currently happening with the pandemic. And just some terminology and some clarification on those points. COVID-19 is actually the term that's used for the illness itself, but the virus is called SARS-CoV-2. So if you actually get a test done, your test results would come back as SARS-CoV-2, either detected or not detected. And in this picture of the virus, this is just a nice representation of what each of those tests is looking for. The top one listed there, the RT-PCR, that is really the gold standard test. That's the one that's most commonly used, and that test looks specifically for the molecular, the virus itself, the DNA of the virus. So it's very specific. If that is in the specimen of the test, it will be detected through that test. The next one, the antigen test, is looking at proteins that are on the outside of the virus. It's not quite as specific as looking for the actual DNA, but it's a very good indicator that the virus is present in someone's test. And then the third is serology or antibody testing, and that's testing for your own body's immune system to see if you have possibly been exposed to the virus and your body has built up some sort of immune protection to it. So those are the three basic types of tests. And then on the next slide, there's a lot of words here, but essentially it's breaking down those three types of tests. The top two, the PCR and the antigen, are diagnostic tests, meaning that that's how you know if you are currently infected with the virus. And they're different. As I explained, they look at different parts of the virus to detect them. But they also have their advantages and disadvantages. The PCR, which is the gold standard test, also is more expensive. It can take longer to process in a laboratory. It's prone to supply shortages in the lab. The specimens that we use for both of these tests are similar. It would be a nasal swab or saliva. And you're probably hearing a lot about saliva testing lately. That's the up-and-coming method because it uses less, we need to have less PPE to actually collect a saliva specimen from someone. That's a huge benefit. And then the antigen testing is sort of the up-and-coming testing right now, mostly because it's less costly, it's quicker, but it is less specific. So it's used best, MD actually just came out with some new guidance for healthcare providers and long-term care settings on how to best use this type of test. It's mostly recommended for people who are symptomatic, and it's also recommended in areas where we know that there's disease transmission occurring. The best example I can give for that would be in a long-term care facility. When we know there are cases happening in that facility, this would be a good application for antigen testing because it can be done quickly, you get the results quickly, and you can easily find out maybe who is ill and who's not.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question?
Please.
When they did the mass testing at MSU, was that antigen testing, I assume?
That was PCR testing.
It was PCR,
Yes.
okay. We got it back so quickly that, yeah.
Yeah, and the results, how quick you get your results depends on how busy the laboratory is that the specimens are being sent to.
Okay.
So it's really optimal to have your test results that quickly. It's not always the case. It just depends on how busy the lab is that your test is sent to.
Because I got mine back in 24 hours,
That's
which
great.
was amazing to me.
That's
Yeah.
ideal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome. Antibody testing, I have the least to say about that at this point because like all tests, there is some variability. There can be false positives or false negatives, especially with antibody testing. It can be useful to find out if someone has had a past illness that maybe they weren't aware of. They could have been asymptomatic. It's also used for some epidemiology data, so we can kind of track where infection rates have been in communities. That's pretty much, the summary on that. particular test. All of these are still currently, there's a lot of research and development going on with all three of these types of tests. And companies can apply for emergency use authorization through the FDA to have their product put on the market. So this is something that's constantly changing, but this is sort of a snapshot of what's available right now. And then on my final slide here, probably the most important thing about any testing for COVID is the timing of when your test is done. And you can see on this slide, we consider the start of symptoms to be day 0. Anywhere from a couple days before then to about 5 to 7 days after then is when the highest level of virus will be present in someone. So that's the best time to have a diagnostic test, meaning either that PCR test or the antigen test. Once you get past that 7 days after the illness has started, the chances of picking up the virus on the test go down. And then the antibody testing is actually the opposite. Antibody testing is done best when you're well past your recovery from the illness and your body's had an opportunity to build up those antibodies.
Mr. Chair, is there much antibody testing going on? I haven't heard much about that. I've heard more about the other two.
That's a good question. It can be done. At this point, it's mostly done by a medical provider. So if you see your medical provider and you say, you know, I wonder if I had this, I'm not sure, you can ask to have antibody testing done. It's not something that the public health department has just offered, unlike the antigen or the PCR testing, the more diagnostic testing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chair, Jessica, I was wondering, I had testing, it was with the nasal, with the needle or whatever. I didn't think it was too bad, but what are the ways to do it? Is you say there's saliva, or how do they?
Yeah, the saliva is the newest. So when, in the beginning of the pandemic, I'm sure many of you heard of the swab that has been referred to as the brain tickler that goes way up there. That was the initial swab that was used for these tests. Since then, they've moved away from that into just a nasal swab where they actually swab both sides of your nose. I believe that's what was done at the MSU testing site.
That's what I had.
That's obviously more comfortable.
Yeah.
Now the newest method has been saliva collection, which is great because it can actually be done virtually. So you can self-collect while someone's on your computer virtually walking you through it and watching you do it, which eliminates the need to have a healthcare provider in full PPE collecting the specimen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So you then send it in after you collect it?
Yes.
Very cool.
It is cool.
Yep.
And our numbers keep going up for positives, don't they? Makes me nervous that it's going to continue because of the cold weather.
Yeah, we all have that concern.
Yeah.
Wish we had a crystal ball.
I know.
No. Well, thank you very much. That's very interesting. I didn't know.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you, commissioners.
Thanks, Jess.
thank you very much.
Kristen?
Good morning. Thank you for letting me join you. I just have a couple things to share, in particular around the overlap between this COVID world we're all living in and my normal day job in the ship world. So a couple things to point out that have been really nice is that my colleague Gretchen has already been working in and had already been working in both ship and emergency preparedness, and so that really prepared us nicely to help sort of shift more of her time in to help with the COVID response. Another piece of overlap, as I think you are aware, there was some flexibility allowed in our SHIP funding for this grant cycle, and so that allowed us to reallocate most of Gretchen's time and some of mine to help out as well. And then some other pieces, our job gets us working out in schools, and so we've spent a lot of time building relationships in all of the schools listed. The only one I would say is an exception is JWP. JWP doesn't have any building sites in Blue Earth County, so I would say we don't have a lot of experience working with them, but we have worked with every single district listed there and all those private schools. And so it was really nice as we're helping develop relationships or helping develop relationships in new ways that we already had some established relationships in all these schools due to our SHIP work. And our SHIP work in those schools have ranged anywhere from grant funding to working on technical assistance to helping with curriculum development to helping them update wellness policies. The schools all listed, I want to say really quickly, they have all done a really good job learning the public health lingo, understanding what contact tracing is, understanding quarantine and isolation and trying to figure that out and navigate it. I do not envy them their jobs. And they have all been doing just a fabulous job doing that. And so they have been really comfortable reaching out to us when they've needed any support or assistance with that. And it's just been nice that it sort of has helped continue to develop our relationships with them. I will say this, they're also watching the numbers really closely because the numbers do sort of dictate the method by which they can continue delivering school. So I sometimes think they might actually know the numbers better than I do on any given day. And then last, I wanted to just touch on some of the overlap as well with SHIP and COVID. We have a lot of connections in our work, working on food access, so working with food shelves, working with meal providers in the area. And so, some of that work has been really helpful as we look at our COVID response. These providers have been really engaged in reaching out to us as they look to how do we operate in a new sort of world where we have to think about a pandemic. Some of this experience has also helped inform our work with essential service, care delivery, and the food kits that I believe you've seen pictures of in past meetings. We were able to use some of our experience on how do we develop a healthy food kit that's also shelf stable. And so some of our experiences were really helpful in that regard in doing that. And then the only other thing I guess I bring up that sort of overlap between SHIP and our world is because we live in a world where we're giving out grants. That has also been, I think, helpful as Human Services looked at how do we distribute COVID grants and CARES funding. And so then they were able to tap into some of our experience in that regard as well, which was really nice. And those are all my updates about SHIP and COVID overlap. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kristen.
Thanks, Kristen.
Great information.
Thanks for all the hard work, you guys. Thank you.
This is so helpful, so thank you all.
Thank you all. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate it.
You bet. All right. Now we'll jump right into administrative services. Bob?
Well, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, the first item is the county board minutes for October 6th.
Langhammer moves.
People will second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the minutes? Jesse, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Purvis.
Aye.
Commissioner People.
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer.
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder.
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg.
Aye.
Next would be the bills for the 2 weeks indicated.
Purvis moves the bills.
People seconds.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Jesse, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Purvis.
Aye.
Commissioner People.
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer.
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder.
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg.
Aye.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 9 in your packet is the Human Resources Department agenda. We do have a number of action items for the board today. First being the reappointment of Mark Manderfield as the Blue Earth County Assessor for a 4-year period effective January 1st of 2021 through 2024.
I'll move approval of the reappointment of Mark Manderfield.
Brunder will second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Jesse, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Purvis.
Aye.
Commissioner People.
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer.
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder.
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg.
Aye.
Next is the authorization to initiate recruitment for an office coordinator in the Community Corrections Department. This would be a promotional opportunity, so it's not a new position per se in terms of adding additional staff, but rather creating a promotional opportunity as a result of some of the impact that the word processing department change is having on the Community Corrections Department. So we see this as a relatively minor promotional opportunity in terms of overall cost to the county, but I think it will structure that department better to handle the workload coming as a result of the changes in word processing.
I'll move approval of the recruitment for an office coordinator in corrections. Landcamer.
Purvis seconds.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Jesse, call a roll, please.
Commissioner Purvis.
Aye.
Commissioner People.
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer.
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder.
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg.
Aye.
Next is authorization to initiate recruitment for a communications manager and business analyst in the administration department. As the board is aware, Amy Holst left our organization a number of months ago, and we put that position on hold. As we've looked at kind of the future and now have a better sense of the impact of the pandemic, feel it's appropriate to consider bringing back that communications position and put it out there for recruitment. So asking board support for that today.
Purvis moves approval.
People seconds.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Is this internal or?
Yes, that was the plan. We'll likely have a backfill then that we'll have to deal with, but so there may be an external hire that comes down the road, but at this point, we would start with an external hire, or internal, perhaps. Sorry.
Any other discussion? Jesse, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Purvis.
Aye.
Commissioner People.
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer.
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder.
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg.
Aye.
Then we have a number of informational items for the board. Have filled a custody officer position, and then we had a promotion within the taxpayer services specialist position, moving from a taxpayer specialist 1 to a taxpayer specialist 2 in recording. And so we're initiating recruitment to then backfill that taxpayer services specialist 1 position. We also do have a resignation of a care coordinator in our public health area, and so we are initiating recruitment to refill that position. And then we did have a resignation of a taxpayer services specialist part-time person. We will plan at this point to leave that position vacant as part of our flexible hiring freeze. Be happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Sounds good.
All right. Mr. Chair and Commissioners, then item number 10 in your packet is a memo again on the Blue Earth County Business Assistance Grant as a part of our CARES Act spending. You'll see an additional 33 applications have been determined eligible for this meeting today. The total of those 33 applications is $274,566.77. That would, assuming those are approved, that would bring our total to just under $1.5 million so far out of the over $2 million that have been allocated. We do have additional applications that are still being reviewed, and we also wanted to talk today a little bit about some expanded eligibility again. But maybe I'll pause first and seek a motion from the board to approve those 33 applications that have gone through the review process and are being brought forward today, and then we can talk about any expanded eligibility.
Landcamer moves approval.
People seconds.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
I just think we're really fortunate to be able to help these businesses. We all know how important businesses are to our community, so I'm just really pleased we can do this.
Any other discussion? Jesse, call a roll, please.
Commissioner Purvis.
Aye.
Commissioner People.
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer.
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder.
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg.
Aye.
In terms of the application criteria, the memo in the packet does note some of the changes that have already been made, including expanding to include home-based businesses, increasing the number of FTE of businesses that might be eligible, and then removing the cap on the overall business revenue. Some other possible changes that the board might want to consider is a limitation we had initially put in place that the business had to be owned by someone in the area, either in Blue Earth County or one of the contiguous counties. We have a number of applications, I believe 6, where the owner actually lives outside of this area, but the business is located here. And so that would be a recommendation from staff to consider removing that requirement that the business owner be in one of those contiguous counties. Another consideration that the board may wish to discuss here today is the requirement that the business owner be current on their property taxes. That has limited some applications and probably also limited other people that may have had interest, but if they reviewed the criteria carefully, may have saw that that was a limiting factor for them. And so the kind of the thought behind that is while the federal guidance from the Treasury is very clear that CARES Act money cannot be used to pay property taxes, we can still help those businesses with other expenses they may have. We restricted that initially, but a thought from staff is that maybe if we had those individuals or business owners contact our Property Environmental Resources Department, make sure that they have some plans on how they're going to address their delinquency and their taxes, that would then put them in good standing, so to speak, and be then eligible under the CARES Act to cover other expenses. They clearly cannot pay their property taxes with any assistance they get from us, but would make them eligible to pay rent or mortgage payments or supplies or PPE, those sorts of things. So those will be 2 items that the board maybe would want to consider today, and if there is support, make a motion to add those or remove those limiting criteria.
Landcamer moves the 2 proposed changes.
People will second both changes.
We have a motion and a second on changes to the rules. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I think this is just a process. As we have gotten into this, we found places where we needed to change things, and to me, these 2 make sense. Allowing someone who has a business here to get that help, and also if someone is having a hard time paying their property taxes, they're working out a plan with taxpayer services to get them back in good order. So from my perspective, this makes sense.
Ditto.
Yeah.
Ditto, huh?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with it. We got the money there, we might as well get it out in the
Yep.
community.
Yep.
So.
I think we brought this up at a work session, and I absolutely agree. And if people decided that Blue Earth County and the greater Mankato area was good to do business in, but they don't live here, or but they were affected by COVID, I think that they deserve the same ability to get the grant money that everybody else did.
They employ people here.
They employ people, and yeah, I absolutely agree with the rest of you. Any other discussion? Jesse, could you call a roll, please?
Commissioner Purvis.
Aye.
Commissioner People.
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer.
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder.
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg.
Aye.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 11 in your packet is the financial status report for September 30th of this year. This does represent our point about 3/4 of the way through our fiscal year. You'll see our total revenues are 72.6 million against expenses of 70,700,000. So we're slightly in the positive at this point in time. Obviously, that's bolstered by the $8 million worth of CARES Act money, and so that's notated in the state and federal revenue line. Other things that I would maybe point out is the transportation sales tax line. You'll see that we are 0.4% below where we were at this time last year. Considering the pandemic and the impact that that had initially on some of the sales tax collections, we've recovered very nicely, and so that is a positive trend that we're certainly seeing. On the flip side, the interest on investments are down almost 66% from this point last year, and so we're certainly seeing a low return on our investments here within the county. On the expense side, we still continue to see expenses come in under the contracts and fees lines as part of our public works projects. As those projects are finishing up, we'll continue to see some larger bills come through there. But other than that, the personal services, our wages and salaries are just slightly under where we were at this point last year. We do see some savings in those other expenditure lines. That would be places where you would see mileage, trainings, those sorts of things where because of the pandemic, our folks have been not traveling as much and not attending conferences and those sorts of things. There is an impact, obviously, that our folks aren't getting the training that they usually would get, but we hopefully can recover from that fairly easily. But overall, we're sitting in good shape at this point. You will see, obviously, some of these CARES Act related expenditures starting to show up in more volume in October and the coming months. Under the enterprise fund, you'll see there the total revenues are 2.5 million against expenses of 3.1 million. This again, as I've mentioned in previous reports to the board, indicates some of the capital types of investments at the Ponderosa that are occurring this year. And so we will see a little catch up in the last 3 months of the year. But given the way that particular budget works, when we're creating additional cells or having to invest in large equipment there, we do have some years where it does look like expenditures will exceed our revenues. On the next page, the cash and investment balances, you'll see that our total county fund sits at just under 112 million. Our total available funds is at about 48 million. Our 6-month operating needs in comparison against that 48 million is 54 million. So we're slightly below that. With the second half taxes coming in, we should see some recovery against that, that standard. So we do continue to see the law library continuing to show a deficit, and so that is an area that continues to need some attention. I know there was some fee adjustments that were made, and I assume that as a result of the court calendars being impacted by COVID, that could still be something that we'll see some recovery in. Other than that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the board might have on any specific items.
No? Any questions?
No questions from me.
Okay. Well, I guess that brings us to the commissioners' reports. And I think I'll start with Mark.
Just a few, let's see, October 7th, we did have our Wednesday, we did our apartment, health department heads meeting, virtual. Had a Gerber exec meeting on the Friday that night, checked in on that. And October 13th, we did have, Tuesday, that was our county board work session. And then Wednesday, the 14th, did have a MICA board meeting. Kip and I were on a call for that, and basically that touched on the special session and what was to take place. And we all know how that turned out, which is for the better, the bonding bill. So anyway, that part. So that concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Will? Will?
Yep. Okay, of course, the department head on the 7th, on the 12th, had the Watonwan River Policy Committee meeting. Saw the first draft of the plan. Looks good. It's been a long time coming, but I think we're finally getting to the point where we're gonna see a plan in place. And of course, we had the work session on the 13th. And that's my report.
Okay, Kip?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Department head was already mentioned. I called in a little bit late, so I missed the Barb with her presentation. I just caught the very end of it, but I did get the rest of the meeting. And United Way, I hope, does very well again this year. I know this is a problematic time for them doing their fundraising, but I certainly think the county will be very supportive of it, and we have in the past, and I'm very appreciative of all the county employees that donate to that organization. We had our planning and zoning meeting virtual, but you already all heard all that this morning, so not much to report on that. SWCD meeting, I did a call in. Things are working out fairly well there. They're just wrapping up their projects for the year and trying to get things finished up before the season finishes. Work session was mentioned. We went over a lot of stuff that day. The Highway 14, 56, 55, and 17 intersection, Eagle Lake, which naturally is very interesting to me. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. And then we heard from broadband update and some other items on the agenda. Mark and I had our MICA call in, and things seem to be going well up there. We did approve 3 platforms. We take 2 or 3 meetings and get through all the platforms. So they're gearing up to get up there and still do their lobbying, but we did approve the transportation, human services, and environmental, I believe. So we'll see a couple of those coming up. And we're still up in the air as far as our annual meeting goes. We're just not sure if we're going to do it virtually or if we're going to try to find a place to do it in person. So stay tuned. And then had our MVAC personnel meeting last night. Just a couple things with Head Start, but nothing alarming there. And several things got approved, and that brings me to today, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Colleen?
On the 6th, I met with Garrett Leaping. He's the new fellow at Greenseam, and he's just trying to connect himself with people around the community. Nice young man. Actually came from Winona State, so welcome to him. On the 7th, I had an AMC Economic Development, Workforce and Housing Subcommittee, just trying to figure out, what are the needs there and how do counties deal with economic development, workforce and housing. We had department heads, and then I had an AMC Blue Ribbon Committee, which was, won't be held as often now. We're going to roll it out into committees, the proposals, and go from there. And then I had a SHAC, State Community Health Advisory Committee, with Commissioner Malcolm, just talking about what's going on there. Life has changed so dramatically in SHAC because the whole goal this year was to look at what's the relationship between MDH and counties. That's kind of been put on the back burner because of COVID.
That's another
Yet another one, yeah.
relationship.
And that one's actually probably been one of our strongest with the Department of Health. So did that. On the 8th, I maybe everybody knows this. I didn't realize this. I got a constituent calling me and asking me, saying, my neighbor has COVID. They don't live in Blue Earth County. They live in Nicollet County. And she said, and they're sending them to Austin. Is, Mayo full? So I called Kelly on our public health, and she said that's how hospitals manage the surge. If you're not, if you're not real sick, they send you to Waseca, if you're in the Mayo system, to Waseca, Albert Lee, or Austin. If you're kind of serious, they keep you here, and if you're really serious, they send you to the Metro. I had no idea, so just thought I'd share
Wow.
that.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Yeah. On the 9th, we had an AMC board meeting. And then I had a Finance and Intergovernmental Affairs, NACO meeting with Treasury about the CARES Act, trying to get more answers. That is a work in progress. It appears also because it changes every so often. On the 14th, I had a Southwest Minnesota Housing Partnership membership meeting. We're looking for some new members on the board. And then Region 9 meeting that night, and they've got a big project going with manufacturing, MSU, and some other things. So that's pretty exciting. On the 15th, True Transit, which was interesting because, you know, they send out a doodle poll, you know, as to, you know, when you can make it. It turned out to have 2 people on it, 2 from Blue Earth County, me and Lynette. The rest of them didn't make it for some reason. But anyway, the interesting thing about True Transit is that the ridership's coming right back up to where it was before, which surprised me. And it's still, the rides are still free, and they have longer to spend their money. They've got well into 2021. I didn't realize it was different than our CARES Act money, but it is. And then yesterday, I had another Finance and Intergovernmental Affairs meeting. It's all about municipal finance, and then legislatively, it looks like if there is another stimulus bill, which it's questionable whether that happens, it doesn't appear to have any money for state and local in it, and which is too bad because, you know, when money goes to local governments, it stays in the community and rolls through, and it's all about lifting up our community. And that's the end of my report.
All right. Well, mine is rather short. After our last meeting on the 6th, I had a NACO monthly membership committee meeting. The next morning, on the 7th, I had an AMC coffee where you can call in and just speak with people across the state on from AMC on different items that interest you. Then we had our department head meeting on Friday, as Colleen stated. We had our AMC Board of Directors meeting. On Monday the 12th, I had a policy coordinating meeting for AMC. And on the 13th, we had our work session, and then I had a NACO Transportation Committee meeting in the afternoon. On the 15th, I had a TDS board meeting, and on the 16th, I had a RAC monthly meeting. I want to let folks know I was called by Julie Ring from AMC and asked if I wanted to put in for another session to be on the Magic Board. I completed 2 terms, and I advised her that I was not interested, and that if somebody else wants to take that spot, they were more than, you know, willing. So I will be giving up the Magic spot on AMC's there. And other than that, that's the end of my reports. Do you have anything else?
That's all I have for you, Mr. Chair.
I have one thing that I forgot. Matt Massman from MICA called me, and they're putting together a group of county commissioners, 12 to 15, to look at transformational issues in our relationship with Health and Human Services. He asked me to serve on it, and I said yes.
Oh, good for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, one more thing, right, Colleen?
I got nothing else to do, right?
Yeah.
But I think
more
it's-
Zoom meetings.
I know it. You know, it's an opportunity to see what our relationship is with Health and Human Services. What can we do differently on both sides to make things better.
Well, I appreciate you putting your time in. That's,
Got a question for you, Vance. I see TDS is moving. Are they getting more space?
I haven't seen that.
Oh, I was up there the other day, and their the regular space is said they're moving to someplace else in the mall.
Well, they had moved before,
Okay.
but unless they're moving to another spot
Well,
yet,
maybe that was just old news.
maybe that was old,
Yeah.
because they had moved, last summer, they had moved to a spot there near the back parking lot.
Oh, that
And they-
was a good move for them then.
Yeah, and a lot less expensive, and,
Yeah.
you know, since they're, you know, they have caught up on so much of their stuff, they don't need as many employees there anymore and stuff. And, yeah, they had moved
Oh,
like
that-
6
that's-
months ago.
yeah.
They
Okay,
moved.
that's just old news then, so, okay, thanks.
Yeah, I was thinking, something I don't know about, but
Oh, wow.
no, good enough. Otherwise, unless there's anything else, we're adjourned.